This morning on FKR, I had the privilege to interview three amazingly beautiful superstars, Christina, Ben and V, who are all in the wellness, fitness sort of industry. Ben even having a boxing gym, and the girls doing their online coaching, their one-on-one coaching. But we talk about nutrition. We talk about sleep, which was an amazing conversation. We also talk about the transformation of entering into new levels of your life and better well-being, and getting away from communities that are no longer serving you, from stories we're telling ourselves. This whole podcast is just jam-packed full of goodness right to the very end. Enjoy. It comes with great honor to be able to introduce you to these three people. Like I said, they're superstars. But please also take the time to subscribe, like, share, and follow on the social platforms as well. This goes a long way for me and helps support me and the growth of having these conversations and reaching other people. Alrighty, on FKR today, I'm surrounded by a bunch of superstars. So much so, I've thought that I'm just going to let you guys introduce yourselves because it's very important that everyone gets to know who you are and what you do. And then we'll dive into a few of the topics that were mentioned. So, Christina, do you want to go first?
Of course.
Yeah, put you on the spot.
No. Well, I'm Christina. I'm a personal trainer in Perth, online and in person. How long have I been in the fitness industry for? I think it's coming up to 16 years, which makes me feel very old. But yeah, obviously originally I started in Germany. I studied obviously sport management. I had my personal trainer certificates there. I worked with kids who struggled with overweight. I worked with people in general who went through, rehab. I worked with everything, with bodybuilders, old people, young people, children, and everything. When I came to Perth, I started getting more into the bodybuilding scene. So I'm a comp prep coach for athletes. And yeah, that's my scene at the moment, and also on body transformation for people and helping them to love themselves and working on their mindset. And
like that.
Yeah, that's where
cool.
I am right now.
Awesome. Told you we had superstars on here. There's one. Benny boy?
Yeah, so my name's Ben. What do? I like to think that I help people to become the best versions of themselves. The way that I like to do that is through, I've been coaching for 12 years, so strength training is where it all sort of started for me. So I've done it through helping people with transforming their physical health, and then that sort of led me down to working with people's mental, emotional, even spiritual health, and facilitating breathwork workshops. I'm fortunate enough now to have my own community in the form of a physical space in a gym, Good Vibes Boxing. And then coaching people with boxing to fight, boxing just to be the best versions of themselves. And I've got a bit of a team underneath me as well that we all share similar values and very aligned with what we do with helping people, as I mentioned, become the best versions of themselves in different modalities. So that's a bit about what I do.
Yeah, thanks, brother. And I'm sure we'll dive into the good vibes, mate. I've got a lot to say about it.
V.
I want to know what V, because I just call you V.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
The real name, or the long German name, is Wiebke, and probably Christina can pronounce it as the only person. So the Aussie version is more Wipka.
Wipka, okay.
But I just
V.
shorten it down to V now because it's too hard to explain. Yeah. I think I moved to Australia about 7 years ago, and I never know how to answer the question of what I do because I feel like there's a lot to it. But predominantly I work in the gym and I coach girls only, and I niched into girls and helping people become the best version of themselves as well, and gain confidence and really focus on strength training. So the whole Busy Girl Club community works on strength rather than going nuts on cardio equipment and really focusing on sustainable weight loss and sustainable habits to create their best version of themselves.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, awesome. I yeah, what's coming up is just personal transformation, you know, like I mean among you all. And I guess that's why I feel very privileged to have you all on here, because this is what the podcast is about as well, you know, like speaking to different people, doing different sorts of stuff out there that's just for better mental health. So thanks for being on board. I want to get straight into it, man, because I've got a very good friend, and this is how important these sort of podcasts are for me, man. And I've had a friend who was at a place of no end. So he's going down a really bad path to the point of fucking no one knew what to do. And, you know, Ben, I brought him down to your gym, man. He knocked on my door, you know, probably, I don't know, a couple of months now. And he was sleeping on my couch, man. And, you know, it was up to me to try and get him on track. And I took him down to your gym, bro, the Good Vibes gym, man. And fuck, it has been an absolute godsend. Like just helping. I've always known how important boxing is, or exercise in general, but your facilities, man, and the people and the trainers and everything you said really sets the tone, and the support that comes with it is, yeah, it's just amazing, man. So that's how important these sorts of conversations are to me, having you guys here, and you know, because I think it's all about transforming lives.
Yeah. Appreciate that, man. Like
Yeah.
I was actually having a conversation this morning about that same person, and the last few months at Good Vibes, I always find it quite hard to receive all these beautiful compliments and stuff that I receive from members and friends of members about the community and the impact that we're able to have. And I'm sure the girls will have lots of similar stories from the impacts they have on their clients. That for me, it's like our motto at Good Vibes is it's more than just boxing. You know, it's so much more than that. Boxing or strength training or whatever it is, I find that's a really great tool to help people, gives them a bit of purpose, gives them a focal point, gives them a target, gives them a goal, whatever you want to call it. But they receive tenfolds more than that when they're working with a great coach that really cares and really gives a fuck about them, and more than just their physical appearance or more than just their boxing skills.
For sure.
It's so much more than that. And it was beautiful to receive some beautiful words from the guy that we were speaking about the other day, and how much of an impact the gym's had on him, and just seeing him grow in confidence and grow as a person and support others and put his ego aside and be a part of our community has been awesome, man. So
Yeah, for sure.
It's so much more than just boxing and just the gym.
Yeah.
It's the community, it's everything else that goes into that.
Yeah, 100%, man. I guess we're talking about transformation. Like, what are some game changers, man? Like among your sort of, what are we calling them, members or clients, or, you know, even among friends, I guess, as well. You know, like I'm sure you guys have had a lot of impact in some of your friends and families' lives as well. So what are some of the game changers, man? I mean, I'll start. So one of the biggest things is that we talk about is getting to that starting line and crossing it, which we'll talk about the starting line in a sec. But what are something that you can give us in terms of game changers? That even daily routine, you know, part of daily routines and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the major things that people come to me is say I tried everything, Christina. You know, I tried every diet on earth. Like, best example is my sister, right? It's beautiful because she's my older sister, and I feel like we go literally in like every 3 months, we go every quarter through this, that she says, I done Weight Watchers, I did calorie tracking, I cut all out what I had to cut out, and every time she goes on a weekend out and had like a pizza or some chocolate, she comes back and say, I put all this weight on, like she punished herself. And I think like I have a lot of my clients coming in from my family and friends coming for that reason. They feel like that diet means like restrictions. They feel like they are not allowed to like eat whatever they feel like. They feel like exercising is there to lose weight and not like to enjoy it. They don't think about the long-term effect that has it on your body, on your mindset. And I have it even with my partner sometimes, you know, like with Luke, that he falls off the wagon and he stops training and he's like, I just don't feel like it. And I say, I literally have to kick him into the gym and say, you go and exercise now. And he comes back and he's like, oh my God, thank you. You know, I feel so much better now. Like I feel so much clearer in my mind. And I think the major thing what people come to me is, first off, I want to lose weight, I want to look better. But when they start working with me, they're actually realizing that it's so much more than just like looking good and like, you know, fitting into that one dress. It's more about the mind and the body that has to be connected.
Would you say that, like, you got to enjoy it too, man? I feel like sometimes if we go too hard, or, you know, and it just becomes a chore, you're going to fall off. I think you've got to find that way to enjoy it. I mean, boxing is a great thing. I love being in that environment. So with dieting, is there a way of, because are you actually just cutting out? Yeah, like, can you have some fun with it?
I say it like this. Obviously, I do have two types of clients. I have like the lifestyle clients who literally just have to learn what diet is. Diet is not, a lot of people, when they heard dieting, it means for them like weight loss restrictions. I just have to watch what I'm eating. You know, I can't go out, which is not true. I feel like when I speak about dieting, it's about how are you nourishing your body? What is in your food, right? So my goal is to explain people when they have a plate of something in front of them, that they know what is protein, what is carbs, what is fat, and what do I actually put in my body right now. And then therefore, with that knowledge, create like way more variety, right? So I can go out. I myself go out 2-3 times a week and eat out, but I know exactly what I put into my body. I do not track my food anymore because I have so much knowledge now that I know, okay, this, if I eat this one, I know that might be around this amount of calories, this amount of carbs. So I feel like a lot of people say, oh yeah, I'm under eating and like I'm tried everything, but if they don't have the knowledge what's in front of your plate, you can't nourish your body and you can't get to what you want. You can't get to the weight loss if you don't have the knowledge of your diet.
For sure.
But yeah, you first need to know, right? If I just eat shitty food like nonstop, my mind is obviously off. Like if I just eat fast food, my body feels sluggish and shitty, but it doesn't mean that I can't have it, right? I can have this Easter bunny today, but if I have like 5 of the Easter bunnies today, I probably feel not good, right? Yeah. So I think it's more about that people understand the diet and making sure that it's all balanced, right? You can have this, but you also can have, you know, like some veggies and fruit and like meat or tofu or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on all of that? I want to talk about fasting as well. That's pretty interesting, but because I felt like for me that's really helped me understand what I'm eating in terms of like, because if you're eating too much and heavy, you feel sluggish. But without having a detox or doing fasting, I didn't really understand what I was consuming as much. Yeah. What about?
I find nutrition's a deep rabbit hole you can go down.
Yeah.
With it, there's just so much information online and different things coming out and all of that. But for me personally, it's just focusing, when it comes to nutrition specifically, it's just focusing on the fundamentals. I think that needs to start with the quality of the nutrients going into your body first and foremost, deriving most of your nutrients from whole foods, deriving most of your nutrients from foods that come from the earth as much as you can.
Yeah.
But in terms of just thinking about your question that you asked about the transformations and the impact that you've had on people, when I first started my career, I was working with people with physical transformations as well. And I've had some really fantastic ones with lots of weight loss and muscle gain and strength. But just as soon as you said that, the ones that come to mind was when I switched more so from working with people, nutrition and strength training, to boxing. The impact that I've been able to have on people's lives through boxing has been incredibly transformative, to the point where I could probably name 5 or 6 people's lives that I've actually saved through that sport, which is where I found my calling. Was this is where I was meant to be when I was starting to have that sort of impact on people's lives. Don't get me wrong, those transformations and weight loss can be life-changing for people as well, and completely transform the way they show up in the world, their relationships with themselves, first of all, their kids, their family, their partners. But when I found boxing, it was just different, especially when I was working in Tasmania specifically. I was definitely attracting younger men, you know, in their early 20s to mid-20s. It was the guys that I was kind of attracting. It's generally a lot of people, those guys, that age bracket, are attracted to the sport of boxing. And giving them a bit of a different perspective on life through my life experiences that I had traveling around, living different parts of the world and states, and just opening up their mind a little bit to different ways of viewing themselves and the world, but just the confidence that boxing instilled into them, the discipline, the hard work, the life analogies that I'm able to pluck from boxing to give to these young men to be able to show up in their work career, their relationships, is just so incredibly profound. And then I started noticing that it was just giving men a new lease on life in a big way. And that's what then sort of how we met, was in my first men's workshop that I facilitated at the old gym, just realising that it just gave men, I used to label the boxing ring that I worked out of like the sacred ring. And it was a safe space for any of my clients when they stepped into those ropes. They could be their true authentic self without any judgment. They could speak their mind. They could actually be vulnerable and feel safe to do so. And the amount of men that I've had break down and cry in that ring with me and share things that they've never spoken aloud to anybody in the world just really showed me how impactful boxing can be for men. And then as Good Vibes has transformed, as V might be able to speak into, like working with one of my amazing head coaches, Coach V, like he works with a lot of females as well, and how transformative it can be for women as well. Just gives them that sense of confidence and connection to their body and their breath and their mind that they've never experienced. So in terms of your transformations, I've saved some guys' lives from nearly ending it, which is amazing, and I feel extremely blessed to be able to say that because of the sport of boxing and the new lease on life that it's been able to give these people. It's a big part of how Good Vibes was born.
Fuck yeah. And it's so true though, man. Like I've been around boxing for years now, and I'd have to say, even in my personal journeys, man, like boxing has been massive. You know, even in my darkest times, I've had other good mates around Perth that have also got boxing gyms, and you know, even sometimes where they pick up where I'm just like at a rock bottom type stage. There's one particular guy who I can, you know, and he just happens to know when I'm in those sort of moments, and he's like, get down to the gym. And it does, man. Like if you can just get up and get there most days, man, it does. It really does. I don't know. What are some of the things about boxing you reckon it is? Is it like releasing frustration? Is it, I guess, like the one thing I do like, it is also getting your mind and your body working together. That's how I find it. Obviously the exercise part of it, being around a community is a big part of it.
You got to be extremely present when you're boxing.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a beautiful thing. Like me personally, if I'm doing a weight session, I will still look at my phone in between sets if I don't have someone watching me, and I can, you know, think about work, and I can think about what I've got to do later. But with boxing, when I've got the gloves on, there's nothing else that matters in that moment other than, especially if I'm sparring, you can't think about anything else. You know, you're gonna cop the consequences if you do. One of the things that I like about boxing, it's a healthy release for anger, I think, as well. Like for me, it's something that keeps me extremely calm. It's something I didn't even realise until I have a period of time off boxing. I feel a little bit agitated, and I think it's a really healthy place for men and women to have that physical release of energy. But one thing I like about boxing is, I think there's this misconception in society now that life needs to be easy and it should all just happen for you. And with social media, I think that's enhanced that. But the thing I actually really love about boxing is it's hard, and it's always fucking hard. No matter if you've been doing it for 10 years or 20 years, boxing is never easy, ever. You just get better at it and more equipped at it. And that is life. I think life is always fucking hard, no matter what. And I think the thing I like about boxing is you get to choose boxing, you get to choose your hard, and you get to choose to navigate the, you know, from specifically talking about training people for a fight, the challenges that will arise. It's inevitable. You're not going to have an easy camp ever. And the setbacks, the injuries, the emotional struggles, the self-doubt, everything that comes with it. I love that because that is life. Life is challenging always. There's ups and downs and setbacks, and you doubt yourself and you wonder if you're good enough and whatever else. And I think boxing just has helped me realise that you can get through it. If you keep showing up, you will get a little bit better, and you will be able to work out and overcome that problem. And that's one of the things I love about boxing, and how it coincides with a great analogy for life, because life's not easy. As you know, you know, it's always hard. You just get a little bit more equipped at dealing with situations, but guess what? Something new comes along, and something new comes along, and you've just always constantly got to be overcoming these problems. that's why I like boxing.
And just showing up, man, getting to that starting line every time.
Exactly right. You know, like those days that you feel shit and you can't be bothered, and but you still rock up to your training session, whatever it is, not just boxing. Obviously, I love looking down the lens of boxing, but anything. And you show up, and like you're saying about your partner, you come home, and you're like, I'm glad I did that. And it's just those little wins that you just bank up. As one of my other favorite sayings is just giving yourself the evidence that you can do hard things. I've got the evidence that when I'm feeling shit and I still show up for myself, I always feel better for it. I'm going to continue doing that.
Yeah, I got a confession. I've been off the drink for a long period of time, and I was having a few drinks like last weekend. It wasn't nothing crazy or anything like that, but it was enough to sort of go, yeah, I've had a few drinks. And then on the Monday, I was like, Dave's just like, fuck, you got to go to boxing. I'm like, man, I felt really sluggish. It was an eye opener for myself as well. And I went in and it was just a class, and I got paired up with another guy who just wanted to go hard, and I'm like, fuck, here we go. So it was got my ass kicked, and I had to go and I think you walked out afterwards. I'm sitting on the wall, and I'm just like fucking thinking of, am I going to spew? But yeah, just showing up though, man, it was sort of, you definitely do. And talking about the starting line, because I want to get to V now. I first met V on the first event we done for the starting line. And fuck, man, you're like an absolute weapon.
I didn't know what I was signing up for at the stage.
Yeah, I know. So part of the starting line for those that don't know about it is that we run like a 25-hour marathon within a gym. So it's a full body type workout, endurance. Shivani introduced me to you, and we hadn't met, I don't think.
We haven't.
And then anyway, this weapon of a woman's walked in, beautiful as she is, and you just went hard the whole time, man. It was wicked.
Yeah, the competitiveness comes out, I think.
Yeah.
That's why I love boxing as well, because the boxing is such a mental switch off. For me, it's not about thinking about my to-do list, but focusing on being present in the ring or in the boxing session. And I really struggle with sitting down and sitting still. So for me, boxing is almost meditation, but in a different kind, because I really have to focus on what I'm doing. And every session you learn something new, and every session you learn, I don't know, you forget how to walk and how to step, and then you're learning to step again, and you're like, wow, this is crazy. This is really, really cool. And I think when it comes to transformation with my clients, most of my clients come to me because they exercise because they're punishing themselves, and they're exercising for, I want to say, the wrong reasons, whereas we're transforming them into actually understanding that they are so much more capable of what they think they are able of. And I think that's with running and boxing, it really highlights that you can do really hard things. And I joke about it with my clients. I'm like, you're going to become really strong grandmas, because we're laying the foundation now to find that evidence that you are capable of so much more. And we celebrate all those wins. And if they're getting a new PB, and it's all evidence that they're collecting, because most of the girls that come to me, they are not the most confident selves, and they have really low self-worth, or they have low self-esteem, and they just use the exercise and the dieting as a form of punishment rather than reward, and actually showing themselves how strong they are.
Yeah, I like that. Especially, again, it's just coming up again. Like, I mean, those people that are sort of feeling that low energy or state, or not good enough, we're nervous about it, man. I just want to encourage, man, just to stand up and step out to, I mean, there's a lot of great things out there, and I think that's super, super important. I think it's more important to do it then, right there and then, rather than sort of go, what's that saying? I think it's like you got to get fit before you go to the gym or something like that. Yeah. No, that's cool. And then with and celebrating the wins. I mean, I think that's a massive thing as well. Good take home.
We celebrated every single round on the starting line.
Yeah.
Hitting the buzzer was the best thing ever.
Yeah, true. It was. There were times where I wasn't coming in to push the buzzer. I was coming in to close the doors and just say, this is a shit idea. But we got through it, man. And every time I looked up, you were there doing the rounds. It was inspiring. In fact, everyone that was there, it was just an inspiring moment altogether. So we're doing it again in April. We had a meeting yesterday for all the boys down at Be More Fitness. We're going to be doing it on the 26th of April and running the 25-hour event again. So those who are listening and want to come down, check in on the starting line. Be good. It's all about getting like community together, and really acknowledging that better mental health, and among the community, for the community, and us who are running the 25-hour event. And I actually didn't think I was going to do it again after that first one. I don't know. It is pretty hectic, but the buzz of it is worth it.
It's good.
Yeah.
Once you finish, you think you can do anything.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. We have to get Luke down there.
Good luck.
Yeah. Get him in shape.
When I tell him like, let's go for a run, he's like, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, he likes to have the gym and like the lifting heavy that really gets him out of his mind. But yeah.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking about in general with the environment your clients are in? I feel like a lot of my people come to me and they say the hardest part for them is to start because the environment pushes them back into drinking, into drugs, into like, why are you doing this? Why are you changing? And I feel like especially with people who are committing to a body transformation is that they say, oh, my partner doesn't understand. He tells me like I'm too much, I'm focusing too much on my diet, I'm focusing too much on my training, and I'm changing, and that's more I'm changing. He tries to pull me back down. And I feel also with friends, I have a lot of people who say, I quit drinking now because I feel so much better, and I quit going out every weekend. But all my friends tell me I'm boring now, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you spending time with us anymore? So I feel like that is a lot of feedback I get from my clients. But is it the same before you guys?
That's a great question, though.
Yeah.
Great topic, man. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. What are you guys?
I think it's really hard because as you grow as a person or develop your habits or what you actually stand for, sometimes your friend circle has to change. And that's really, really hard to tell people because that's obviously your comfort zone and that's what you know and those friends you've had for years. But maybe sometimes it's time to break out of some of those circles and meet new people because as you change and your interests become different, you can't change the people around you. You can only change what you want to do. But I feel like you then attract people that have similar habits and similar interests as well. And that's going to be super hard for clients because that's a whole nother. Now you just don't have to focus on the nutrition. Now you also have to find new friends and find new people. And that can be really challenging. But I think my only advice there is to do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, but it will be worth it.
And it's coming up for a reason too, I find that when you grow, people just automatically, those who are not meant to be around you tend to just fade off. You don't have to actually do anything other than just keep doing yourself. And those people will, because they can't really keep up with the growth that you're having. And I also find that you do just naturally meet those people in that next stage of life anyway. And being open to that, and it's really rewarding, the people that come across when you're in that sort of state of mind. But when you were saying that, is it more females that are saying their partners are holding them back, or was it happening both ways?
So I train men and women, so I find it with both, right? I also trained men before in the past who said like, look, they work 5-4, right? And I'm not sure if that's a thing still anymore, but he said every time the shift changes, all the men there are getting on a piss, right? And he said, I did not want that, but it's the only way how to socialize with people out there. And especially in the mining industry, there's some toxic masculinity around, right? So he get called, oh, I'm a pussy, or why don't you drink? What's your problem? And he literally got nearly punished into that. And he said he really struggles to withdraw from that. And when he's home, same thing. Everybody comes home and just drinks. And he literally said I have on shift change, I'm spending my time alone in my room, which is really sad, right? And I feel like we have to bring that out some more. I mean, I heard a lot of people, he was really devoted for his change, and he said, I'm not going to drink anymore. I really want to change my body, my mind. I want to change my relationships. But I think I also get that clients that really struggle with that. Females in general, I get a lot of single women, and they think they have to go out and go on festivals and events to meet the love of their life and put themselves out there. But I always say, look, when you put yourself out there in this environment, and I know it's amazing and beautiful to meet someone in person rather than like on Tinder or something. But if you put yourself in like party environment where people drinking non-stop, but you from your core actually want to be healthy and do not do that, you attracting the wrong people. And I think that's what I just get a lot, like that people searching in the wrong environments for love, for acceptance.
It is a big topic that though. I mean, I got to admit, like I come from quite a heavy drinking background, you know, and like it's all I knew in terms of socializing. Even with my own family, catching up with them was meant drinking and eating, and it is hard. But I don't know. You sort of. Yeah, it's tough, and even today I do actually still find, like, from a social point of view, you know, and especially if you're a single person as well, trying to find other people, it's very challenging.
I think there's like some obviously communities around these days, so I feel like I'm pretty sure we all do is like making sure we build community, right? So having like events on where people can come together. I, as example, did for my clients like a vision board event where they could come. It was for free, so we all sit together and get to meet each other. Or, you know, we went once through like a sound healing with Luke, right? And I'm pretty sure we were just literally talking about it in the car that she's gonna have like an event on as well where people can come together. So, and even for myself, and I stopped being in this party environment, I put myself more out and go to events like ice bath or community events of like breath work and like sound healing. So I put myself into environments where people are who are more aligned with me, and then I got to meet so much more people. Like just in the last year I made amazing new friendship, I met the love of my life, and just all because I put myself in this right environments. But I think it's really scary for people to change. Change is hard.
Well, it's all the unknown, isn't it? You know? And I've had this conversation with Luke as well. I can remember when I went to one of his first sound healing events, and I'd never known what cacao was. Actually, it was Shivani that asked me to go one time. And I'm like, what the fuck is a sound healing, you know, thing? And I went there and I was completely out of my comfort zone. But you're right. I mean, and once you start going a few more times and you hang around and meet some of the people that are there, it is a great environment to get into. But it's the unknown, isn't it? You know?
It's the unknown.
I think alcohol is such an interesting one, eh? It's like the only drug that you get shamed for not taking it.
Yeah.
Such a strange one, that one. How especially Australia, well, a lot of countries, but Australia, how we treat it and view it and look at alcohol. But
and it's more destructive than most other drugs that are on the market, you know.
It is, yeah, it's crazy. So, but I think the thing that was just coming through for me is just like nothing changes unless you do. So you've got to be very proactive when it comes to finding your people, you know. And I've had to learn that firsthand. I've packed up my life and moved 6 times to different states or countries. Every single time I've moved, I've had no friends, no family, nothing. So I've been forced to have to find my people. And it is scary, and it takes a lot of confidence to step into a new community or an event. And I went to Luke's Sound Healing a few weeks ago. It was absolutely amazing. And you were there, and you meet these like-minded people. But it's not until you step out of your comfort zone and go to a couple of those events and realise that there actually is other people out there that are looking for the same thing, real, authentic, deep human connection, is what I'm looking for personally anyway. Like, I'm not interested in going to bars and clubs myself either, and I think it's very surface level chat, and it's not a great way to really deeply connect. No shame in the people that enjoy that lifestyle either. Like, that's fantastic. I did it when I was younger. But yeah, you've got to be proactive with what are the sort of things that you want to engage in, who are the sort of people that you want to meet, and kind of got to have a bit of a plan of like, all right, I'm going to go. I think Perth's amazing. I think I've never been to a place like Perth where I feel like there's so many of those events all the time with cold nips, and we've got running clubs every other weekend, and I'm running workshops and events and
fight nights.
Fight nights. Like, you know, I feel like there's things on all the time in Perth. When I'm looking on social media, there's free dancing events and this and that. So what are your interests? Who are the people you want to connect with, and look at what's available. But it is hard. It is hard getting
and reach out, I guess. You know, like just going back to Shivani again. Like, you know, she. You know, like, reach out to somebody. I think because we're all eager. I know when I find something good, I want everyone to come to the next one. You know, like especially with things like breath work or, Sound Healing, or even the fight night you had the other night, man. That was fucking unreal.
Yeah, and that was my intention behind it, was just literally, obviously, intention one was to enable my advanced boxers to showcase their skills, for one, and give them a safe platform to fight. But it was to bring the members in the community together. We probably had 100, 150 people come through and mingle and meet each other. And I was every time looking at the crowd, seeing people chatting and maybe meeting people they'd never met before, and looking at running another event soon. And because I'm very aware that in my gym I've got people of all different demographics that have, I just had a guy just moved here from UK, just finished his farm work. He's like, man, I just need a community. I've just given him a few weeks free membership because he's trying to find a job. And I'm like, brother, I know how hard it is to be a part of a community. Just come and be a part of it, and introduce him to some members. And he's all of a sudden made a couple of friends. And it's so challenging. I'm sure both you girls, I'm not sure how long you've been in Perth or if you grew up here, but moving to another place, it's so hard. So when I have guys like that come from a different place or a different state, I do try my best to introduce them to some members and make them feel a part of a community, because I think that's one of our basic human needs, and things that we all long for is community. Whether it be with a partner or with a small group of friends or a big community, we're all longing for human connection in some form. So if I'm fortunate to be able to have a community now and create those events for people, which is amazing, and collaborate with. I know you're doing something with V and the girls at the gym, and we'll be doing something soon, and then we can collaborate with other like-minded individuals and businesses, and it's just the snowball effect that has in Perth. It excites me so much, especially I'm not from Perth. I don't have a family here. Now I've got this gym community and family, and doing this podcast from situations like that. It's very cool.
And do you go you're a little bit more one-on-one with your clients. Do you find that once they are in a routine or start getting exercise or start seeing a bit more better shape about themselves or eating better, that they'd have a bit more confidence to maybe get out to some of these events and try new things? It's little baby steps, perhaps.
Yeah, baby steps. I think because I do the group classes, then they will sometimes organise within the groups to come to the boxing workshop, and then they feel a little bit more confident because they know that there's other girls from the group. And my favourite part of the teaching the group classes is them making weekend plans, and I can see that they get along and they catch up on the weekend, and they come back on a Monday and they're like, oh my God, we did this and we went out, and I'm like, yay. Because I'm not from Perth either. I've moved here and I had to do this myself too. And in the beginning I would rely on the alcohol and going out and gaining confidence through drinking and meeting people. And then eventually I was like, no, actually I don't enjoy this life. I don't enjoy drinking and I don't want to do this anymore. And then we go out all the time. We don't drink and we're the first ones on the dance floor anyway. I think, it's about learning that what you actually want and then following through with that.
Yeah, because when I first, again, going back to, I used to drink a shitload, and so when I first gave up, one of the biggest anxieties about giving up alcohol was that social anxiety of how to talk in a pub. And when I realised that, I was like, what the fuck? So but with me, I sort of saw the fear and I'm like, no, fuck. Well, that gave me even more courage to want to overcome that hurdle. But it's certainly definitely a thing, the confidence. And I think if you sort of are going to a gym and meeting new people, that confidence does just build, I guess, over time.
It's a whole shift in your identity.
Yeah.
If you were that guy that always went to the pub and had so many drinks and you were hilarious after about 6 beers. And you had your little circle of guys that was your identity in your world, and then you have to completely shift and redevelop the new version of you. And that's a big thing I say to people when it comes to habit change, what is the version of you that you want to be? Who are the people that you need to hang around that are going to support you on that next journey, i.e. a gym and being around other like-minded people who training's a part of their identity and lifestyle. And it's a very hard thing for people to shift. I've experienced a lot of clients that have had drug issues and alcohol issues and mental health, and for them to literally have to completely shift their identity and the person that they thought they once were into this new identity is so scary. New friends.
Is there an actual start though, for your clients? Because there's a lot of things that we're talking about right now, and when you're actually doing it, you can understand it. But it's all about what we were saying before, the unknown. If you don't know, you don't know. you know, a few things are coming up like food, you know, exercise are good places to start. But even just is like morning routine. Like I know, like when I was talking before about game changers, what is it that, say, you guys do even in your own personal lives that is a bit of a game changer, like getting that morning routine happening? Or
Morning routine, we're personal trainers. We're in a gym at 6. So. For me personally, a morning routine, I have to, if my routine is not there, I'm not functioning, because like I say, I sometimes start my first sessions at 5:30 in the morning. So I get up at 4:15, I have my sit routine, getting up, getting ready, feeding the dog, feeding the animals, feeding myself, get ready, and I'm off. But it's more, I think, like for personal trainers or for us to find like the mental balance. If we sometimes work with like so many people together, I'm not sure how it is for you guys, but if I'm in the gym and I do like 10 sessions a day, I need to make sure I also look after myself. So I personally make sure I always have like an hour between clients in the morning where I train myself. If I don't do it then, I'm not doing it. So it's really important for me to have my morning routine of like this morning workout, and then I go home, I nurture my body, I go into meditation and make sure like I also can listening to myself.
Okay, so meditation's a huge thing for you,
Yeah, I just really make sure that I have my routine sit together of like good food, training, good sleep, also very important. And yeah, my mindset is a big thing, like that I read self-development book, I love it. And yeah, meditation and like finding like the silent point between like this crazy life of training and like talking to people and helping people to also look after myself. So that's what I tell to my clients as well, like make sure you don't just work on your body. And I think that's something that comes up a lot, is that they come to me and say, well, I want to look like the next bodybuilding pro. And I say, okay, why is that? So we go a little bit deeper. So even with my clients' updates and stuff, I always want to make sure with me on my update form, it says like, how are you feeling mentally? How is your sleep? Is there something coming up for you? And then this conversation's opening up. So when they can't follow their diet and stuff, it's not because they're weak or, you know, they just don't have the mental capacity. It's most like what's going behind there. So I'm asking, encourage them as well. Is they're sleeping just 4 hours a day? Okay, let's have a look on your routine. What is going wrong there? So find a routine that fits you. And I think that's something very individual. There's no like one magic routine that everybody should follow. I feel like it's always very individual. Mom with 2 kids will have a completely different routine than whatever Nancy, like, you know, who is like 20 years old and works 20 hours a week. So I feel like my goal is always to find a perfect routine for every client that they can go on with their life, right? So
because the big part of it is that you're going to bed at night ticking a few boxes off that list. I mean, if you've set them too high and you just got 1 done opposed to having 10 done, you're doing it wrong, yeah? Because it's good to keep them.
I would say it needs to fit into your life, right? Yeah. So if you tell me like I'm working 12 hours a day and I can't really meal prep and I'm just sleeping 6 hours a day, like I say, all right, what can we improve on here, right? So it's just like you sleep, what would you make feel better, how are you feeling in the afternoon, how are you feeling in the morning, and then we build a routine around that. If you feel super anxious after work or when you come home, I say, okay, how about we implement like meditation at night, 10 minutes, just like sit down for yourself, build this routine, and that's your non-negotiable, and then let's see how that implements into your body and into your lifestyle, right? And then how that lands with you. I always say that, but there are people who you need to be willing to do so. I'm not sure if you feel that as well with your clients, but if there's like a lot of resentment towards meditation, as example, that won't be the goal for them, right? Yeah. So ask, what else can we do? Is it like a walk instead? Is
that like a bit of honesty with yourself? I mean, I feel like you've got to give things a go to work out if they work for you or not. Yeah. And meaning and give it a go, give it a few goes, like not just show up and do one meditation. And, you know, I don't know how you guys feel about that.
But I think when it comes to habit change too, one of the key factors that I take in consideration is it's got to be easy for them. You want to try and give them a habit or a new practice or something they can implement into their life with the least amount of friction as possible. So taking Susie, who's got 3 kids and works a job as well, and then trying to get her to go to the gym 4 days a week and get 9 hours of sleep and meal prep her food, and like it's not going to happen. You know, for her, it might be a walk at lunchtime if she's doing no exercise. Like, what's the least amount of friction that I can give to her that she can do? Because guess what? She's going to feel good about that. Yeah. And then she's going to go, all right, cool, I've done this. I've cemented this into my lifestyle. I'm now going to try drink 3 liters of water a day. And then I'm going to do this. And it's, I like look at it as habit stacking. I think one thing, you know, a good coach is able to, look at the person's whole lifestyle. And also a good coach is able to push their own beliefs to the side. I see a lot of coaches, unfortunately, well, I'm doing this, so I'm going to try and get every single one of my clients living the lifestyle that I live. It doesn't work like that. No, I've tried when I first started. You know, when I was 18 as a PT, you know, I'm going to the gym 5 days a week, doing this, doing my bro split, taking creatine. Every client should be doing that. Little did I know that these, you know, guys have got jobs and kids, and you know, like you learn like that. But when it comes to habit change, what is the least amount of friction that I can give this person to able to instill this habit? Because you've got to look at the psychology behind your clients too. It's going to make them feel good. They've achieved it. They feel good. They're going to be more inspired and more likely to then let's take one of those days and turn it into a 30-minute strength session now. You've created the time in your life to go for a half an hour walk every day. Let's turn 1 or 2 of those into a resistance training session, simple dumbbells at home, or whatever that might look like, depending on the client, and just slowly stack from there. But personally, my biggest habit that has had the most profound impact on my life is sleep. Yeah. That is the one thing that when I've tried a lot of things, I get very obsessed with, like, I'll look into sleep, and I've read Matthew Walker's book on sleep and every podcast on sleep and every supplement, and I get really obsessed on things. But when I was able to really dial in and make my sleep a priority, my entire life changed. From the relationship with myself, my partner, everyone around me, the way I show up every day, my energy, my performance, my recovery, my libido.
I want to hear.
My sleep.
Sleep comes up a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that was challenging for me, but I don't use my phone an hour before bed, and my phone does not go in my bedroom ever. Yeah. So no technology. I don't own a TV. I haven't owned a TV for probably 5 years. Yeah. So I don't watch any screens or anything before bed. So that enables me a really large amount of time to wind down, and whether that be connecting with my partner, talking about what we're grateful for that day, our intentions for the day to come and really connect. I'll read, which is crazy for me to say for someone that struggles to sit down and focus. But the last 3 years I've been reading books most days. So I'll read for half an hour, and that will help. Like, by the time I can't keep my eyes open when I'm turning the pages. So those ones have been really profound, is the no screens and stimulation a good hour before bed to enable myself to wind down. And then other little simple things too. Invest in good bedding. Yeah. Invest, like when I invested in a $200 pillow, I was like, holy shit, what have I been doing my whole life? And people look at me and like, you know, it's crazy. They'll go and spend a couple $100 on a carton of beer, but they won't spend $200 on a pillow. Yeah. So, you know, when I went and saw one of my osteos back in the day, he had these pillows, he's like, try this, and it changed everything for me. Yeah, right. I was, you know, investing in a bit more expensive mattress. Like, you spend up to 9 years of your life in bed. Yeah. Like, it makes sense to make that environment good. So, like, when I invested in some good bedding, that made a big difference as well. I use nose strips when I go to sleep. Yeah, right. So I wear the nose strips. I used to wear the mouth tape to make sure that I'm nasal breathing only when I sleep. That improved.
You're a sleep guru.
Yeah. I'm obsessed, man. Yeah. You know, like no light. Like,
what about food, man? Like so. What about
the red light?
Sorry.
Do you have the red light before you go to bed?
I use the salt lamps. Yeah.
I love that. That's my go-to. I turn off all the lights and I have my red light before I go to bed, and then phone away.
Yeah. And what, just lay? Well, do you keep the light on?
No, I don't keep it on, but you're meant to not have direct, bright blue lights, or is it yellow light?
Yeah, it's blue light.
In your face before you go to sleep. So me turning off the light and then just having the red light on when I'm reading my book, and then going to sleep has helped.
It's so interesting. I did in January a 30 days challenge for myself. I called it like the Brexit challenge. And I said as well, like 1 hour before bed, no screen time. And the first half hour when I wake up, no screen time. Yeah. And it was the hardest thing I didn't know it was so hard for me, but I was literally first thing, because we have the alarm on the phone, so like, like quickly check what's going on social media, did any clients cancel, whatever. So you already like wake up and it's like you leave or you let in like thousands of people into your bedroom by like scrolling to social media. And like even at nighttime, right? Like same thing. It's like we're scrolling through social media. I see someone is better, doing better than me, is having what I don't have. And it's like, I feel fucking awful now. I feel like I'm already getting anxious of like, tomorrow I have to be better, But yeah, I did that to myself. Like you said, I said, no phone. I bought a very good book for myself and said like, 30 days, I'm going to finish this book. I'm going to read. And it's a game changer. And before I watched Netflix every night, and I stopped doing that as well. I maybe watch like once a week Netflix, and like just that is such a huge change. Like I fall asleep a lot better. I can see the difference. The other day we watched something on the TV and I really struggled to fall asleep, and like we're thinking about it, woke up a couple of times and I said like, oh my God, like I have to stop doing that again. So definitely reading and like no screen time is like the best thing you can do before you go to bed. 100%.
One thing I love about having a podcast like this, I just learn so much. So thanks for sharing all that about sleeping, because I got some. But the salt lamp, I have that on naturally every night, and I don't ever really watch TV. So I'm thinking that's been working for me, but I've never really thought of it like that way. But
no
I
artificial
love my
light.
nighttime routine.
I always just have my partner. She loves candles, so it'll just be candles or salt lamps, and try not to have any artificial light on at night time. But and then the flip side as well is actually like, the best sleep routine starts in the morning. So I do get sunlight exposure in my eyes first thing in the morning. Fortunately live next to a park. I do a barefoot walk around the park most mornings if I can. Not every day is perfect, obviously, but the sunlight exposure in your eyes, there's a lot of research backing that sort of helps set your circadian rhythm. So you get the sunlight in the morning, so then your body clock knows that at night time it needs to start winding down, release the melatonin, and improve your sleep as well. So, and
even having a coffee.
I was going to say caffeine intake is really important. You're also not meant to have caffeine straight after you wake up. You should wait for at least an hour and get sunlight first. Yeah. So it helps with your circadian rhythm. And then obviously like 5 to 7 hours before you go to bed, you shouldn't have another coffee.
There's a really good small podcast. I think it's like After School has it. But I think Andrew Huberman. Yeah. I was fixated on that guy a while back, but he's got a really good one on sleep, and he says all that sort of stuff.
He's fantastic. Yeah, I learned a lot of stuff from him. I think he did an episode with Matthew Walker, who's like the sleep guru. Oh, okay. But yeah, I think it was that Matthew Walker was an interesting thing that I'll share with you, and I'll probably butcher it, but there's a hormone called adenosine, and I kind of envision it. If you think about like a sink and the plugs in the sink, and you turn the tap on, throughout the day that adenosine builds up, and that's what makes you feel tired and feel sleepy. When you go to sleep, it's like pulling the plug out and it drains that adenosine so you can get rid of it so you can feel good the next day. Within the first 90 minutes of waking up, your body's still getting rid of that adenosine. You know, when you wake up and you're a bit like, you're trying to come to the first half an hour and whatever. So the first 90 minutes, getting the sunlight and allowing your body to get rid of that adenosine that's built up from the day before. If you have coffee, it blunts that response. It kind of like puts the plug back in. So then what happens is then obviously when the caffeine wears off, you start to feel tired again. And that's when people are just bouncing from coffee to coffee to coffee.
With you.
So I try not to have a coffee before 9 a.m, which again, is not always perfect and hard sometimes. But yeah, that's why it's important to not drink coffee first thing in the morning, because your body's still trying to remove the adenosine that's built up.
Thanks for sharing that, bro, because that's really a good way of putting it. What do you see? I've got a problem with waking up, and it only happens every now and then, but like I go through patches of it. That morning, sometimes I'm just out of bed in the morning and life's great, can easily do these routines, but then there's some mornings where I'm just like, fuck, I can, it's like you just want to roll over and put that pillow over your head and just go back to sleep. Is there any, what are you thinking about there, man? Is this, because I I've never ever been able to like pinpoint something that why it's happening, but I just go through these phases and
there's so many different factors.
Yeah.
I think can play into that. And I think let's just say you're keeping every parameter consistent with your sleep cycle. You went to bed at the same time, same sleep environment, blah blah blah. First thing that comes to mind is your just stress load, your overall stress load from that day before, or cumulative that sometimes we're not even conscious of. Just the little day-to-day things that just build up. Nutrition, could be another one that's affecting you. I know a big one is people mouth breathing. It's a huge one that will negatively impact the way you sleep and how you feel when you wake up. Like, I'm not a mouth breather, but I do have obstructed nasal passage from being punched in the head too many times. But the nose strips and opening my nasal passage, I reckon it increases my airflow by 30%.
Yeah, right.
I wake up like a good 20 to 30% fresher when I sleep, knowing that I've breathed through my nose more. And it's crazy. Like, I've been able to train doctors, like the statistics on how many people have sleep apnea that they don't even realise.
Yeah.
It's actually extremely common that people don't realise that they're not breathing properly when they sleep. So that's another thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. Another one, I've got another question for you. But what about eating before sleep? Is there a period of... I always try and eat, like 2 hours before actually going to sleep. When I'm going to go to sleep, is that about right? Well, what are you guys doing there?
Yeah.
That's what they recommend.
That's what I recommend.
But when you're a PT and you finish at 8 o'clock at night, we don't generally have that luxury sometimes.
Yeah.
Just got to get it in.
Yeah. KFC and then straight to bed.
Yeah, that's right.
I try not to eat so close to bedtime, but sometimes it doesn't work. Not every day is perfect, but I do feel better when I eat 2 hours or longer before I go to sleep.
What about eating, like when you're working and you need to eat lunch? Is it better starving yourself? These are all just little questions over for myself. I'm just taking advantage of having you all here. But so like if you go in, say you're starving, you're on the road, or you've got clients, PT clients or whatever, are you starving yourself? Or if there is just a cafe down the road and you can go and grab a croissant or something like that, that is obviously not part of your diet. Do you know where I'm going with it? So like, is it better off just going to go and have that croissant and going with it than starving yourself?
It'd be better if you prepare it yourself.
Yeah.
I was thinking it as
I was like, you could plan ahead.
Yeah. Let's work on that.
Yeah. Plan ahead. And if you know you're going on a long drive, then I would always pack my own snacks rather than stopping somewhere eating food that I actually don't enjoy eating just because. But with lots of my clients or females in general, I feel like it is often better if they have consistent meal times over starving themselves, because what happens for myself, for example, if I don't eat my consistent lunch and I'll get home and I'll eat everything in the cupboard and then I'll cook my dinner and then I ate 2,000 calories worth of one sitting because I was starving myself. And the story I tell myself is like, oh my God, I haven't eaten all day. So now I can make up for it. And I find my energy levels are a lot better if I keep my food times consistent. It helps. And then looking at proper meals, not just a croissant, but do I have a protein source? So if I had to pull over somewhere, I'd probably pull over to a petrol station, get a protein shake rather than a croissant and something that I don't actually like eating.
Yeah.
True.
I've worked with a lot of people with eating disorders, and it's crazy also with people who are very overweight, and they tell me literally they just have one bread roll in the morning, they eat nothing all day, and then I come home and then they lose it, right? So they just don't stop eating for 3 hours. So, and then sometimes they spew and then they eat again. So that's when the roller coaster starts. So I feel like you always have to catch yourself of where are you. First off, obviously, where are your stress levels, right? Most of the things what I get is that people say, I'm so stressed, I have so much work, so I just forgot eating. And that's what it is. Your body sends you a signal of like, I'm hungry. But if you ignore that and long enough, you will feel like it goes away, right? So you feel like, oh, I'm grumbling. Half hour later, you don't feel the grumble anymore. But you need to make sure you nurture your body then and make sure you're prepared. So I always say have more meals than just 1 or 2 or even 3. I always recommend to have like 4 or 5 meals a day, especially if you're struggling with hunger in general. Feed your body when it wants to be fed, right? So if you feel you have an afternoon where your body starts grumbling, don't push it to dinner 2 hours later, because again, you start overeating, right? So yeah, that's my advice to that. And the good thing is we live in a country where we always mostly have a healthy choice. So I can go in a petrol station, can get a sausage roll, but there's also like a protein shake in the fridge as example, or like some
Bananas.
fruit. There's even fruits, there are bananas, yeah. So you always have a choice, right? Of like, am I hungry and I just wanna, why do you want to have that candy right now? Why do you think that gives you the quick energy because it's sugar, right? But so will also do a banana.
Yeah. I like what V said though, the story you're telling you and being aware of that story, man. I'd done a 2-week detox from Brian from Thrive across the road here, and I'd never really done anything like that before because I've always been really good with my eating, but I didn't realize, like, with part of the detox was that there was a bit of fasting in there, and we done I think it was a 36-hour fast. So it was one of the fasts that we done, and that really woke me up to how addicted I am, or that story I'm telling myself of that I need food. And it was more based around like comfort or being stressed. I heard you talk about, your clients being stressed. I could see that being like a comfort thing of having to eat, and just listening to myself and what I'm telling myself and what I'm eating and what stories I was telling myself made a huge difference. And I don't think until you give it a go or stop it, you don't actually realize how in tune you or disconnected you are from it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I think fasting's an interesting one. I'd love to. You mentioned fasting's interesting.
Yeah,
I'd love to chat about it a little bit. Because I think you mentioned you wanted to chat about it a bit at the start. And it's interesting because it's the fad right now. I feel like everyone's fasting, and it's jumped on the hype train, especially after Dana White posted his results with Gary Becker. It went bananas. Yeah. And fasting's not a new thing. Fasting's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I think the thing I will say, it always depends on the person and the why behind why you're doing it. And I definitely don't want to discredit. I've fasted as well, obviously doing fight camps and cutting weight, like it is a part of it. Yeah. And I think it's really beneficial to sometimes learn to be hungry and that you will be okay. I think there's a lot of people, that are on the other end of the spectrum, they're trying to lose weight, that feel like they've got to eat all the time, and actually like going a period of a day without food is healthy. It's okay. You'll be fine as long as you're getting the nutrients in, you're staying hydrated, and not just water, like electrolytes and making sure that you're staying well hydrated. Like not eating for a day or 36 hours is healthy if done properly with the right protocols. However, the thing that I'm not a fan of for fasting is people use it for weight loss far too much.
I was just going to mention
and I don't think that's the right way to go about it, because at the end of the day, outside of making sure you're eating good food and everything, like you do need to be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat. You do need to do that. And intermittent fasting is just a really great way to get into obviously an extreme deficit. So people go crazy about the results that they get because they lose quite a few kilos in a couple of days, but a lot of the time it's just water weight, and as soon as they eat carbohydrates and everything, the weight will come back on. But for me, I don't foresee it as, it's not sustainable, for one. I don't think getting people on fasting protocols on a weekly basis for fat loss is probably the healthiest thing to do. And then as these girls are talking about, like the psychological role that it can play with people as well. It's like I was even speaking to a guy a few weeks ago who goes on about fasting, and then what does he do after his fast? Eats a whole heap of rubbish.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, you're sort of counteracting the benefits. And I know I've spoken to heaps of people who've done fasting and have received some amazing health benefits from it. One of my boxing coaches did a 7-day water fast, and it was crazy what came out of his body and what he experienced and how good he felt. And I think it's really great if used in the right way, maybe once every few months or once a year or whatever. But as a long-term solution, I've seen, like with some of my female clients when I was doing online coaching, is it turns to binge eating.
Yeah.
And they use fasting as a way to then enable themselves to go and eat shit food and punish themselves. And so you've got to be really careful when pushing these quite extreme protocols and measures onto people, because it doesn't work for everybody. So what I just don't like about fasting at the moment is everyone needs to be doing it. It's the craze, and if you're not fasting, you're an idiot. It's become a bit culty, in my opinion. It's a great tool. Use it at the right time, under guidance. It's beneficial, but you've got to be very careful with who's doing it and how they're doing it, and for what purpose.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit about what you were mentioning before as well. It's about like we all were. Depending on what your life is, like what are you trying to achieve and trying to work that out. I mean, me personally, it was because of just experiencing it. and experiencing it with the right people for me, like being under like an actual, like a group of us doing it and a structure behind it. But yeah.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people doing it and you hear their fasting protocol and there's no science behind it. It's just drinking water and coffee for a few days and just doing it, and then they go and eat Maccas after it to celebrate their fast. And they're just doing it because it's, but I know when Dana White did it specifically a year ago, whenever he lost all this weight and that under Gary Becker, it was huge. Every guy was doing a fast. And I think it's cool to experience yourself with sitting with hunger, sitting with discomfort. It's another like sort of journey to learn more about yourself. Like when the urge to eat food and stuff comes up, sitting with, do I actually need that? And what is my relationship with food? I think it can be a really beautiful tool to go inwards and learn about yourself, but not for everybody.
No, that's right.
As it always is with all training methods and nutrition. There's no blanket rule that one size fits all.
Yeah. Right, you, V, do you?
I think it's all about finding a sustainable approach. And I haven't fasted unless it was for a competition and a weight cut. And I don't think I ever want to. But I also think, so I don't have the science background and have looked into the fasting too much because it hasn't really interested me. What I find with lots of my clients is that it does not lead to sustainable weight loss because they will go through spirals and then it results in binge eating. And I think there is some research around females that fasting for females can actually be less beneficial than it is for guys just because of our hormones and things like that. So I don't recommend it to anyone of my clients, but I also haven't done it and I haven't looked into it enough that I would recommend it to anyone.
The only thing, I like weight loss is a big one because I'd never done it for that. But when I do mention my experiences with fasting, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, how were you with weight loss for it? And I was like, well, I didn't do it for that. And I do sort of think it is a little bit silly if that's your intentions from doing it personally, unless you're a professional boxer or something like that. But I would encourage people to do it because I feel that the unknown, like we all live in the unknown. Like we've been marketed food to eat, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all types of different food. The reason why I'd encourage someone to do like a lengthy fast would be to actually hear your body and understand what's coming out, like that story that you're telling yourself, and from a comfort point of view or an addiction point of view, because I do think we're more addicted to food than what we think. I think that the story we tell ourselves are that we need food, which we do need food, but we don't we need more of it. Well,
we've never lived in a world where calories have been so easily accessible. Like we can get food anywhere, everywhere, at any time of the day, 24/7, delivered to your house, can't you? Yeah, literally. It hasn't been around for that long that you can literally order food to your door pretty much 24/7.
Yeah, within 20 minutes.
Exactly, which is just crazy, and we're in a obesity epidemic right now. If you look at the statistics, which mainly come out of America, but Australia is similar, of the rate of obesity is crazy. So I think for those people, like a fast could potentially be a cool experience to teach them that your body will function and be safe and be okay with periods of restricted eating. I think that could be really helpful. And don't get me wrong, I've worked with and met people that have used fasting as a successful weight loss protocol, but it's never been long term. They'd use it for a period of time and they're able then to transition into a bit of a more consistent eating pattern. But I think the thing that you've got to be careful is saying that everyone should do it, because there's people that have problems with eating enough food. Those people, I don't think fasting would be a good option for them. I think people at this end of the spectrum, they eat an abundance of food every day, all day. They could learn a lot about themselves having 24 hours of not eating. But then there's quite a lot of people that I think that isn't spoken about very much is the undereaters, the ones that are actually like have a problem that have to set an alarm to remind themselves to eat because they just won't. And I have worked with people like that have had eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia and stuff, and absolutely no way in the world would you tell them to fast. That just wouldn't be safe. So I think, again, you can't blanket it with everyone because not everyone's the same, and you've got to understand where they're at mentally, where they're at in their life. I don't know enough about the deep science behind it as well, but I'm also been made aware that women's bodies and fasting don't work as well and should be looked at differently. So the answer in the personal training world that I always laugh about is it depends. The answer is always it depends.
It always depends.
It depends on the person, your environment, your mental state, where you're at, your physical state. Like, there's so much that goes into it. So that's why I don't like the people that step into fasting or anything and just push it on everybody because they had a great experience. That's awesome. I had a great experience with plant medicine, but I don't go push it to everybody because I don't think everyone should do it.
Yeah.
You know, so I love boxing, but I know there's some people that boxing just wouldn't fit them in terms of fighting. Like, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just being aware.
And well, then how do you work out if it's good for you? By testing it, by researching it, by asking questions, watching podcasts?
Having self-awareness, finding the right coach that can then get to understand you and guide you is probably one of the best things that you can do. You know, I've had some amazing coaches and mentors in my life that they can do a bit of analysis, like as we do with every client, we do a bit of analysis. You sit down and get to understand them, you ask them the right questions and figure out where they're at in their life and then guide them down the right path. And not everybody has access to a great coach, but I also think fortunately we live in a world where information's abundant. There's podcasts on everything these days. Maybe have a bit of a listen, do a little bit of your own research and go, is this for me? I think that's a beautiful thing about the world we live in is people can listen to this right now and go.
So you can step into a boxing gym and give it a go. Give it a few goes and walk out and, after a week of doing it maybe or 2 weeks. And you can say, okay, that ain't for me. But and you could probably do it with, I guess you can do a short little fast. You can then step it up if you want to push it a little bit more and more and more, and work it that way. But how would you, plant-based medicine, man, is something that I'm pretty passionate about. It's done miracles for me. I love it. But how do you test the waters with that?
So I don't think the principles change in terms of if you should be doing it under the right facilitation and guidance. Which I was fortunate enough to have some really amazing guides that they didn't. I had to go and have a consultation, and they asked me a bunch of questions: what medication you're on, blah 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 blah. Because there's certain medications that don't mix well at all with those journeys, and they facilitate in a really professional setting. No different to finding the right coach to guide you on the right nutritional journey. So finding the right facilitators to hold that space for you. But I'm sure, but also, even if you were to tick all the boxes, there's still that point of you've got to make a decision within yourself. You've got to have enough self-awareness to go, I didn't know what I was getting into. Like, as you know, you can't know what you're getting into until you've actually had the experience. But I knew at that point in my life that I needed some radical change and I needed some answers. And that's why I went there. And you have to be willing to surrender to whatever comes up. And not everyone else has the most pleasurable experience. But doing it under the right guidance so that whatever does come up for you, they can be there to hold you and make sure that you're safe is obviously crucial.
The last podcast I just done before this one was on ayahuasca, and we sort of did talk about all those different processes that come up and to finding the right community and everything else. But I think, and look, I feel the bigger the risk, better the outcome. If you're doing the right, especially with plant-based medicine, make sure you're doing it with the right people and everything else, yes. But you're going to have more of a resistance there, or a little bit more fear of the unknown and things, which, personally speaking, that's going to be having a great outcome for yourself. And it's like a boxing gym or stepping out with you guys in personal training. It's going to feel really uncomfortable to begin with, especially if you've never done anything like that before.
I totally get what you're saying with the fasting stuff too. I think the message that you're sort of underlying is like sometimes just having a go and figuring it out, because there is no bad experience. It's only how you perceive that situation. So doing a fast and it's hard and it doesn't work is not necessarily a bad thing either, because you learn a lot and you go, well, that's not for me. So I get what you're probably trying to say. Like with plant medicine too, jump into it at some point because it's the unknown and deal with it, because that's also life. Because when we walk out of here, we don't know what emails we're going to receive that could disrupt our day and whatever else. So I feel you on that as well.
Yeah,
like, you've got to be willing to
I am one of those people that go, fuck it, get in there and do it. But
and I think there's merit to that as well. You've got to. I think it's like a risk assessment. You got to zoom out and go, what are the pros and cons? All right, what are the cons, and am I willing to face those head on, and could they actually be great lessons, or are those cons so great that it could actually turn me down a path that I don't want to go down, which happened to me recently. I got offered, I was looking down the path of doing quite a deep plant medicine journey, and I actually had to stop and go, my intentions aren't clear enough. I can't really sit with why I'm wanting to do this, and I feel like I'm in a really beautiful place in my life, so I don't want to go down this path because I think it could potentially only maybe disrupt it because I'm good right now. And I said no. So I think you've got to.
That's a good point. Like,
why are you doing it?
Yeah, why are you doing it? Yeah. And is it, where are you at life? Like, I know when I first done ayahuasca, I looked at ayahuasca and I was like, well, if this doesn't work, I don't know what fucking will. So it was almost like like I was looking at like, well, it can't get any fucking worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
I suppose it depends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I might wrap it up here. Unless is anything that we've need to discuss? I mean, where to find you guys? I mean, I will grab details, like logos and things, and have them on my website as I normally do, and I'll have links of your Instagram profiles and websites, where to find yous. That will they'll be on this podcast with the links. But do we need to finish with anything other than just, I don't know, give it a crack? If so, yeah, that's what I'm coming up with,
Give it a go.
Yeah.
I think that's a good life motto. You should try lots of things.
Yeah.
As long as it aligns with what you want to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you, each and every one of you. Even my cup's filled and with knowledge, having you guys on here. So thanks for coming on board. I really appreciate it. And it was the long weekend. I didn't realise I was booked this in and on the long weekend. And you were all happy enough to come and sit on this podcast and share your knowledge and the love for those who are going to be listening to it. So thank you on behalf of all of them. And fucking real. So thanks for being on here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having us, brother. I love what you're doing as well, man.
Cool.
I feel very aligned with your message. Definitely keen to support the starting line as best as we can, the community, and be involved with what you're doing, man, because I think you're creating some big waves in this world.
Awesome, brother.
Thanks for having us coming in and having a chat, bro. I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, let's do it again, man, for sure.